Welcome back, everybody. When you suggested we do a deep dive on Dungeons and Dragons,
Oh, this will be fun.
yeah, I thought, well, okay, we'll look at some YouTube videos and some articles.
hmm
But, getting into it, it's a lot more than just
Yeah.
dice and slaying monsters. It
Absolutely.
really seems to get into
What-
something
what-
pretty fundamental about human connection. But
Yeah.
before we go too far,
Yeah.
what actually is D&D?
So at its core, it's this collaborative storytelling experience.
Okay.
Like a group of friends gathered around a table, each playing a character in this fantasy world.
Okay, so is that not just like reading a book together?
Yeah. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So here's the difference. In D&D, you have the power to shape the story.
Okay.
So there's a dungeon master.
hmm
The DM, who sets the scene, describes challenges, but the players decide how their characters react.
Okay.
And that's where the dice come in.
Okay, so it's like those choose-your-own-adventure books, but with more math.
Kind of. Instead of just flipping to a page, like your choices actually have consequences.
Okay.
Let's say your character wants to climb a wall.
Mm,
The DM describes how high it is, if it's slippery, things like that.
right.
You, the player, you decide to try and climb it.
Okay.
Then you roll a 20-sided die.
Oh, wow.
Add any bonuses that your character has for climbing, and if the total beats a target number, you make it.
Yeah.
But if you fail,
Oh.
that's where the story can take some very unexpected turns.
Okay, that does make it more interactive than just reading a story.
Yeah.
But is this only for math whizzes?
Oh, no.
No, not so good at math.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The math is really simple, like basic addition for the most part.
Okay.
The real challenge and the fun is in the decision-making and the role-playing.
So it's not really about crunching numbers. It's about getting into your character's head
Yeah.
and figuring out what they would do in that situation.
You might be a fearless warrior who just charges into danger, or a cunning rogue who tries to find a secret passage.
Interesting.
It's all about bringing your character to life through your choices.
Yeah.
And, one thing I find really fascinating is how character creation itself seems to be a big draw for people.
Yeah.
It's not just picking a name and a weapon.
Right.
It's way more than that.
When I was looking at the Vox video
Yeah.
about character creation,
Uh-huh.
it's just mind-boggling the amount of choice you have.
It's true.
It's not just race and class, it's their personality quirks and backstories.
Mhm.
I mean, they even had a warlock who looked like a fun devil and handed out pamphlets.
Yeah.
Like, where else do you get to be that creative?
I think that's a huge part of the appeal.
Yeah.
It taps into that desire we all have to explore different sides of ourselves.
Mm.
Maybe you're shy in real life,
Uh-huh.
but in D&D, you can be the charismatic leader who rallies the troops, or maybe you're a rule follower
Oh.
who gets to be a mischievous rogue for a few hours.
I like that.
Yeah,
So D&D gives you permission to kind of try on these different hats
absolutely.
and step outside your comfort zone
Yeah,
without, real-world consequences.
exactly.
But it's still a game, right?
It is.
There has to be some kind of goal
Right.
beyond just making up stories.
That's the thing. The goal isn't necessarily about winning in the traditional sense.
Okay.
It's more about collaboratively creating a fun and engaging story.
Okay.
The How to Be a Great GM video described it as a collective act of imagination.
So the journey is more important than the destination.
Exactly. It's about those shared moments of laughter, suspense, and, triumph as you and your friends
Yeah.
overcome these challenges and unravel the story together.
I can see why people get hooked on it.
Yeah.
But how much is actually, bound by rules and how
Mhm.
much is just pure improv?
It's actually a really delicate balance between structure and freedom.
Okay.
The rules provide a framework, a way to resolve actions and keep things fair. But within that framework, there's so much room for creativity.
The Screen Rant article had a great example of this.
Oh, yeah.
That story about the player who accidentally turned his friend into ice
Oh, tell me more.
by touching a cursed book.
Oh, the frozen friend incident? I
Yeah.
love that story. Yeah, it highlights how D&D goes beyond those pre-programmed options.
Mhm.
There wasn't a rule for how to unfreeze the friend,
Right.
so the DM had to think on his feet.
Yeah.
And the players ended up carrying this frozen character around for weeks,
Oh, my God.
using him as a battering ram at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that kind of unexpected chaos that makes D&D so unique.
That's amazing. So it's a mix of strategy, storytelling, and silliness.
It really is. But what's even more interesting is how beneath all the fun and games,
Mm-hmm.
There seem to be these deeper reasons why people are drawn to D&D.
Okay.
The How to Be a Great GM video breaks down 4 core drives behind role-playing:
Uh-huh.
entertainment, escapism, success, and socialization. And D&D seems to check all those boxes.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Let's unpack those and see how they actually play out in the game.
Let's do it. So, entertainment, right? D&D, it isn't just passively consuming a story.
Right.
It's actively creating one.
Okay.
You've got the thrill of the dice rolls,
Huh?
the strategic thinking of planning your moves,
Yeah.
and the pure joy of bringing your character to life through role-playing.
Okay.
It's a multi-sensory experience that appeals to, a lot of different personalities.
Yeah, I can see how that's more engaging than watching a movie.
Yeah.
What about escapism?
Right.
I mean, all of those days where we want to just get away from it all.
Absolutely.
How does D&D provide that?
Well, that's where the fantasy setting comes in, right?
Oh,
You're literally transported to another world, a world of magic, dragons, epic quests.
wow.
You get to step out of your everyday life and become someone else, someone extraordinary.
It's like those lines that we read about stepping into the shoes of heroes and wanderers, dreamers and survivors.
It is.
It's poetic.
It is. And there's something incredibly liberating about that.
Yeah.
But it's not just about escaping from something, it's also escaping to something.
Okay.
And that's where the success drive comes in.
Okay, so it's not just running away from reality.
Right.
It's finding a different kind of fulfillment.
Exactly. In D&D, you set out on these quests, face challenges, and overcome obstacles.
Right.
And when you succeed, whether it's through clever strategy or a lucky dice roll or even a moment of just brilliant role-playing, there's a real sense of accomplishment.
It's like leveling up in real life.
Exactly.
I bet that feels pretty good.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're, facing some challenges in your everyday life.
Absolutely.
So then there's the social aspect, right?
Yes.
I mean, D&D is at its core like a shared experience.
It is.
You're telling a story together, collaborating, and building bonds through those shared moments of laughter, tension, and triumph. When I was reading the Screen Rant article, the part about D&D being a social lifeline really hit home.
Yeah.
The author was talking about how his weekly D&D group helped him stay connected with his friends during, the pandemic lockdowns.
Yeah.
It's more than just a game. It's a way to build real, meaningful relationships.
It is. And that sense of connection, that feeling of belonging to a group is something that so many of us crave.
Especially these days.
Especially in today's world. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But, even beyond those 4 core drives, there's something about D&D that seems to touch on a deeper level of personal growth.
I was thinking about that too.
Yeah.
There are moments in the source material where it hints at D&D's potential for self-discovery.
Right.
For, facing our fears and learning about ourselves.
Yeah.
But how does that happen? Is it just because you're pretending to be someone else?
It's more than just pretend. Remember what we talked about with character creation? Choosing to play a character who's different from you.
Right.
Who embodies traits you might admire or even fear can be incredibly insightful.
So, like, if I'm a cautious person and I choose to play a reckless, impulsive character, that might help me tap into a side of myself
Absolutely.
that I usually keep hidden.
Exactly. Or if you're conflict averse, playing a character who has to stand up for what they believe in might give you the courage to do the same in real life.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
It's like D&D is this safe space to experiment with different aspects of your personality.
It is.
Try on different hats and see how they fit.
Right. And because it's a collaborative experience, you've got the support of your group, right? They're there to cheer you on, offer advice, and help you navigate those uncharted territories of your own personality.
It's almost therapeutic in a way.
It can be, but of course D&D is still at its heart a game. And one of the things that keep people coming back is the sheer unpredictability of it all.
Yeah.
That green slad story from Matthew Tolville's video is a perfect example.
When they thought they were having this heartwarming reunion with a character from a previous campaign, it turns out he's actually a shape-shifting monster in disguise.
And what's amazing is that the player, Robbie, was completely fooled.
Right.
He had invested so much emotion into this reunion, and then boom, the rug's pulled out from under him.
It's those holy crap moments
Exactly.
that make it so unique.
It's those unexpected twists and turns that make D&D so engaging.
The game itself has a personality. A sense of humor.
It definitely does.
Okay, so we've covered entertainment, escapism, success, socialization, and even personal growth.
Wow, yeah.
Seems like D&D has it all.
We did.
But it still has that nerdy image.
Right.
And to be honest, I'm still a little intimidated.
Okay.
Where do you even begin?
I get it. It can seem daunting from the outside.
Yeah. But honestly, D&D is way more accessible than you might think.
The Cosmonaut Variety Hour video really emphasized that they address, all those anxieties people have about the cost of materials, finding a group, feeling overwhelmed by the rules.
Exactly. And they offered some great solutions. You don't need a ton of expensive books and miniatures to get started.
Right.
The D&D starter set is super affordable.
Yeah.
And it has everything you need for those first few games.
And with online platforms like Roll20,
oh, yeah,
you don't even need to find a group in person. You can connect with people from all over the world.
That's right. And if you're worried about the rules, there are tons of resources online, from YouTube tutorials to, simplified rule summaries.
It's like they said in the video, Dungeons & Dragons is a game that anybody can play.
Yeah.
Rich or poor, doesn't matter.
And they made another great point. D&D is only as complicated as you want it to be. You can start with a simple one-shot adventure.
And gradually work your way up to more complex campaigns.
It's like dipping your toes in the pool before diving in head first.
Perfect analogy.
Okay.
So the point is, don't let those logistical barriers stop you from experiencing the magic of D&D.
So what's the common thread through all of this?
Yeah.
Why are so many people from all walks of life drawn to this?
I think it boils down to this. D&D is this powerful reminder that in a world that often feels isolating and disconnected, we all crave adventure, connection, and a chance to be the heroes of our own stories. And D&D provides a safe, supportive, and incredibly fun way to do just that.
It's like that quote from the Vox video.
Oh, yeah.
The point of D&D is obviously like adventures and, we're world building together. But the real point of D&D is like, you're in this bubble with these people and you're entirely focused on each other.
That's perfect. Yeah. It's about carving out a space for genuine connection, for laughter, for shared creativity, and for those epic moments that become the stuff of legend.
Yeah.
And in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming, that's a pretty powerful thing.
Absolutely. But even with all those benefits, is there a downside to getting lost in a fantasy world? Can it ever become too much of an escape?
That's a really interesting question, and it's something we should definitely explore.
Okay.
But first, let's take a quick pause.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll delve into those potential pitfalls of D&D and how to strike that healthy balance between fantasy and reality.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're back, ready to wrap up this deep dive into D&D.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, it has.
From dice rolling to personal growth to social connection. Who knew there was so much to rolling a 20-sided die?
Right. But before we get too carried away with all the positives, I think we need to address that question you brought up before the break.
Yeah.
Can getting lost in this fantasy world be a bad thing?
It's a valid concern, like any hobby or passion. There's always the risk of, taking it too far.
Right.
It's all about balance.
So how do we know when someone's crossing that line?
Yeah.
Like when their D&D hobby is maybe becoming a little too consuming?
Well, it's important to remember that D&D is, at its core, a form of entertainment.
Okay.
It's meant to be fun and enriching.
Right.
But not a replacement for real-life experiences and relationships.
So if someone's prioritizing their D&D sessions over everything else, like neglecting their responsibilities or even withdrawing from real-world social interactions.
Right.
That's probably a red flag.
Exactly. It's like anything else.
Yeah.
Moderation is key.
Right.
If D&D is starting to have a negative impact on someone's work or school or relationships, then it's time to step back and reevaluate.
So you don't want to skip like family dinner to go fight a dragon.
Well, maybe some dragons.
Right.
But yeah, I think having those boundaries is important.
Okay, so let's not end on a negative note. We've spent all this time uncovering the amazing benefits of D&D.
We have.
It's creative, it's social, it encourages problem solving.
Right.
It can even help us with self-discovery.
Absolutely. And you know what else is amazing?
What's that?
D&D has become this cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, it really has.
It's everywhere. Movies, TV shows, you name it.
Like the Cosmonaut Variety Hour video said, D&D is in everything.
Yeah.
You'll start to see it once you play more.
And they're not exaggerating. Think about all those fantasy tropes we see in popular culture. The brave knight, the wise wizard, the epic battles between good and evil.
Right.
So much of that is rooted in D&D.
It's like they provided the blueprint for a whole genre of storytelling.
It is, and it's not just the stories themselves. It's the language we use, like terms like level up, critical hit, even roll with it, have become part of our everyday vocabulary.
It's true. It's amazing how a game that started with a few people around a table has had such a big impact.
Yeah, it really is.
On our culture.
It is.
And that just keeps growing.
It does.
It's experiencing like a resurgence in popularity.
Right.
It's not just this niche hobby anymore.
No.
It's people from all walks of life discovering this magic of rolling dice and slaying imaginary monsters.
And that's something to celebrate.
Yeah, it is.
D&D is this incredible blend of creativity, strategy, and social interaction. It's a game that can bring people together, spark imagination, even teach us some valuable life lessons.
So to wrap up this deep dive,
yes,
I think we can say that D&D is a lot more than just a game.
Oh, yeah.
It's a cultural touchstone.
It is.
A creative outlet, a social activity, even a path to self-discovery.
It is. It's a reminder that even in a world dominated by screens and technology, there's still magic to be found in gathering around a table, rolling some dice, and letting your imagination run wild.
And if you're feeling even the slightest bit curious after this deep dive, I encourage you to take that leap. Find a group, grab some dice, and see what adventures await.
You might surprise yourself with what you discover, both about D&D and about yourself.
Okay, well, that's it for this deep dive.
Until next time.
Happy gaming, everybody.